The following presentation of EFB Insider with Paul J. Higgins is being brought to you by Smart Stop Self-Storage, the smarter way to store. New location in Rancho Mission Viejo. Smart Stop, proud supporters of Santa Margarita football and EFB Insider.
On this edition of EFB Insider, we put a cap on the 2021 spring season as the Eagles amassed a .500 record. Today we talk to Coach Ruse and his staple of coaches that include Jake Fay, Sean EMBREE, and Tony Dye. I'm Paul Higgins. This is EFB Insider, and all the action starts right now. Coach, it seems like we just started this show, and already 5 weeks later, here we are. The culmination of the season, how do you feel right now?
Mixed emotions, you know. It was a long year. We played for a long time. We got prepared for a long time. And then we had our 6 game of weeks of playing, but now we're done. But we also know we're turning around and we're going to play in 4 months. And so it's a reset and we'll have a little mini spring. So I didn't really get much time to decompress, or I didn't give myself much time, especially, after you come off a loss. What makes me feel better when something isn't going well is to get back to work. So we had a camp the next few days, and guys were out in the community, doing 7-on-7 different things. So we're still rolling.
Yeah, I know it was emotional. I know that you mentioned you didn't end the way you wanted to end. What did you say to the boys in the end zone? I was watching you down there, and I know that it was probably a pretty emotional time for the seniors.
Well, when you've been doing this for 4 years, I just first and foremost said thank you to them. It's been a long haul for these boys. They've had 4 head coaches in 4 years, and I came up with them. My first experience was their first experience in varsity football. So watching guys like that I coached when I was a linebacker coach, and Anthony and Drew grow up to end up being captains for the team and be on our leadership council, I just wanted to appreciate them, and then the guys that had been here also, and then the other guys that had come along the way. That's what makes football such a special sport, is you get so many different walks of life and different experiences, and it's how you come together each year as a family. And I wanted to just say thank you to them and tell the young guys how quick this goes. Before you know it, you'll be a senior.
So true. And also tonight, instead of the players, we're going to talk to the coaches. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of fun. And I know that you're really appreciative of your coaches. Can you tell me about that? Because you've mentioned a couple of times, Paul, I don't call the plays. I manage the team, sure, and I manage the situation. Can you give us some insight on that with your coaches?
Well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Sean EMBREE. Embo and I coached together over in Germany, and he was the one that convinced me to come here. And we talked a little bit about that on the Coach's Corner show. And so I'm literally always indebted to him for this opportunity here. But aside from that, just feeling that level of, eternal gratitude, it's also just how great of a coach he is on offense, how great of a job he does trying to get our players the ball and create a system that is quarterback friendly and enables the quarterback to throw and get the ball out as quick as possible. I'm very happy with the way that we did those things on offense, so our ability to play fast when we could, especially when we had superior talent to our opponent or any given moment in the game. I'm super happy about that. Coach Fay on defense has been a godsend. He's like a brother that I'd never met before. We hit it off right away. What I love so much about Coach is how relational he is with the kids, how much he connects and how much he cares. He's huge for me as a head coach because of his time with Coach Kunow. He actually played for Brent Wiesemeyer, for Coach Wies, at Orange Lutheran. And so he has so many different ways that he helps me in especially building the culture, because that's really the most important thing for us right now. And then Coach Dye, our special teams coordinator, is played in the NFL. He's got unbelievable experience being a defensive coordinator also at the JUCO level and at Norco. And with special teams, he worked with the 49ers, and he's done a great job. I love how creative all of them are. Coach Dye is super creative. It's the whole idea of taking, different styles, but then also drawing things up that fit particularly how we're going to attack an opponent. It fits my mentality. We're all very aggressive. We're all very collaborative, and we're all very creative.
Yeah. I know this is a busy edition of EFB Insider, and you've got places to go and people to see. So I wanted to ask you, now, you did a little decompression, but now what do you do for the next couple months, and what do we call this season, when we start again in 2021? Is it the fall season as opposed to the spring? What do they do there?
This just the fall.
Okay.
It will be amazing to have a set schedule. And that's of nobody's fault, but just trying to compress multiple sports seasons into 2. And for us, having multi-sport athletes on our team that have missed practices, that really hurt us as a team. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're giving our guys some time off. Then we'll do a pseudo spring ball, like no pads, like it's kind of typical with a few less practices, but really to help them get skill development, and then really especially is to get into the weight room and do that. So we'll have a whole period during May. We'll give them some time off in June to do vacations and also hit the college camp circuit, because that's going to be a circus. Yeah. Having all these kids going to these camps for colleges, because the NCAA just opened up June 1st. And then we'll be back into our summer ball, where we'll do a few things 4 days a week for a few hours and really focus on the culture. And then it's back, and we got 123 days till our first game, but who's counting?
Do you know the first game?
San Juan Hills.
San Juan Hills. Okay, will that be at Saddleback, or do you know?
That will be at Saddleback. As of now. Yes.
As of now. Who knows, right? Yeah. We'll just roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Coach, I asked you this earlier in the year, but now last thing I want to ask you, again, kind of redundant, but I'm curious. 3 words now that describe Santa Margarita football after this season you just had. What are the 3 words that come to mind?
Dogs, opportunistic, and aggressive.
Kind of describes Coach.
That's where we need to be. I'm putting that out in the air to get to where we need to go. Yeah.
Coach, hey, you know what? This has been a pleasure talking to you each and every week. You're a gentleman, and you're really a stand-up guy to come on here, even when things aren't going the way you want them to do and the way you want them to go. So I appreciate that. I've interviewed a lot of people in my career, and I look forward to this each and every week.
Yeah, thank you. Life's a blessing, and it's a blessing to do it with you, and I really appreciate you.
Thanks, my man. That was awesome. That was cool. I love the 3 words.
Yeah.
It took you a second, but they described you, man.
Yeah.
Up next, the fun continues as defensive coordinator Jake Fay joins me. This is EFB Insider, and we'll be right back.
The EFB Insider with Paul J. Higgins is being brought to you by Smart Stop Self-Storage, the smarter way to store. New location in Rancho Mission Viejo. Smart Stop, proud supporters of Santa Margarita football and EFB Insider.
Coach, if I played football in high school, I think I would like to have been you, because you have done some amazing things on the high school level, and then at Chapman when you went to Chapman. Why defense, why safety?
Why defense? I like to control the collision. So growing up, I played running back and safety. My dad always was a defensive player too, and the one thing he always said is, if you're on defense, you control the collision. So that was something I was a big fan of growing up, and obviously the way I played, I like to hit. So safety was kind of the easy decision for me.
So you had really good success in high school at Orange Lutheran, and you want to carry that here. The culture is changing here. Can you feel it? I know you've only been here since last March, but can you feel that even though you've only been here a short time?
Oh, it's been a huge change. As soon as Coach Ruse took over, you felt the difference that first day. The competitiveness, the aggressiveness, the way in which we go about things, and just the expectation level of coming here to compete and expecting to win. I think that was something that changed very quickly. And I've been blessed to be a part of that at other programs where we came there where it wasn't a winning culture. And then as soon as we got there, we were able to have some success. So I love being part of building something. When I was choosing high schools, both my parents actually went to Mater Dei High School. So I had the opportunity to go to Mater Dei or Orange Lutheran, and I wanted to be a part of building something. And obviously, with the success we had there, moving up to the Trinity League our senior year and being the Trinity League champion, CIF, and state champions that year.
Man, you got half the Trinity League covered in the family.
Right, that is true.
I got to ask you, what makes a great defensive back? What makes a great safety, cornerback? Your thoughts about that? Because can you just spot them right away?
I think it's a mentality, right? It's the physicality. It's the football IQ. On the back end, you mess up, everybody sees it. So there's a little more pressure than being on the D-line and even at linebacker. But I know as a defensive back, you enjoy those challenges and being able to have a big impact on the game. Making those game-winning interceptions, those 3rd and short tackles when you're in the box. Those opportunities, I used to pray for those as a player, and even as a coach, those opportunities on 3rd and shorts when I'm going to put my guys in position to be successful.
Mentally, somebody in your position as a safety or defensive backfield, when they make a mistake, how do they get over that? Because when a quarterback throws an interception, there's that time there too. But defensively, we don't think too much about that, do we, when somebody maybe gives up a long pass or misses a tackle? Mentally, how do you bridge that gap as a coach to a player?
Well, we call it short-term memory, right? You got to flush the play and move on. So as a player, you kind of hold on to those moments maybe a little more than you should. But it's the same like as a team. You never let the same play beat you twice. Right? So as a coach, that's what we're emphasizing with our players and putting them in position to lose in practice, right? So they have to flush and move on to the next play because, again, really one play can't beat you, but you let that play beat you twice, that's when you lose.
Your dad's given you some great advice. What other advice have you gotten over the past, your career in football that really stands out that you pass on to your guys?
I think from Coach Kuhnau, in the time I've spent with him, a big thing that he always preached was players spell love T-I-M-E. So really spending that time with your players and building those relationships, not just on the football field, but outside of the field when it's not football. Just spending time with them at lunch breaks, outside of school, to really understand who they are, what they're about, and to let them know you really do love them. They're not just your player on the field, but you truly care about them off the field.
I should have started off by saying congratulations, because I know that you have a baby and a baby on the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, we got my first son, Cameron Jacob, who's 20 months now, and then Chandler Williams on the way. He's due July 3rd. So thank you so much.
I think they're going to be safeties.
That's the plan. Unless they get my father-in-law's 6'4", so if they get his height, quarterback.
Yeah. Tell me about that. You're deceptive in height, right? I mean, you are not the tallest guy, you're not the shortest guy, but you know how to play the game. So sometimes being smaller on the defensive backfield, it's a little bit different, right?
Right. I mean, my coach growing up told me low man always wins. So the shorter center of gravity, tackling, typically the guy who's the lowest wins that battle. So luckily for me, God bless you with the low center of gravity.
And I say that with all due respect, to be
Right.
honest with you. Yeah, and because I came from a wrestling backfield, and I said the other day when some of our guys were bouncing off serve, I go, you got to tackle them low.
Right. It's the same like a double leg takedown in wrestling.
Right, exactly. Get them in firemen's and pin them, right?
Right, exactly. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
If they're on their back, you won.
Did you wrestle?
I didn't. I should have.
You would have been a phenomenal wrestler.
Our wrestling coach always did and tried to get me a few times, but I never wanted to cut weight, so always trying to gain weight for football.
Coach, I'm going to have you go, but I want to ask you, what one word describes you?
Energy.
Wouldn't know it, would I? Did a great job, man.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Up next, it's the offensive side of the ball's turn as the man that calls the plays, Sean EMBREE, joins me. This is EFB Insider, and we'll be right back.
The EFB Insider with Paul J. Higgins is being brought to you by Smart Stop Self-Storage, the smarter way to store. New location in Rancho Mission Viejo. Smart Stop, proud supporters of Santa Margarita football and EFB Insider.
Coach, I've heard this story a couple times, and I know you've heard it, but Coach Ruse says you're the reason why he's here.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, I got here, right when Fish arrived, and the minute I stepped on campus, I immediately fell in love with the people, the campus, the team that I was surrounded by. And Coach Ruse and I had built a great bond out there in Europe and Germany, and a great person to be around. And I called him and said, hey, you're coming here, man. This is where your next job's going to be. And so through the grace of God, he did show up here, got him on campus, we sold him, and now he's here.
It's interesting because he said in the phone call, he said that you told him, hey, it's high school, but this is not an ordinary high school. What did you mean by that? And then how do you kind of say that to athletes that might want to come here?
Yeah, so when I got here, Rich Fisher did a great job of just kind of running this like a college football program, and then being implemented in coaching receivers. really allowing me to do what I wanted to do as a receivers coach reminded me of the days of coaching college football. So I felt like this was totally different than what we've seen or been around as far as a high school team. So immediately I was drawn in by that, and then to go out and play Mater Dei and Bosco and Servite and J. Sarah, and looking across the field at guys who are most likely going to play on Sundays is a huge draw for a coach, because there's a challenge there to go out there and win on Friday night against a team that's, at this point superior to us. And we were actually going out there and winning and competing just based off of the coaching. So to get in touch with Coach Ruse and let him know, hey, this is like college. It's not high school. This is college football at really one of the higher levels, just like Division I. We're running it like a Division I program. Come be a part of this. It'll help you grow as a coach.
Coach, I could talk to you. I've got so many questions in my head right now, and we're going to do this again because I find what you do amazing. When I broadcast a game and I say the Trinity League offers the best high school football players in the country, am I correct?
Yes, without a doubt, you're correct.
And why am I correct?
Well, if you look at Saturdays, if you just turn the games on, even coming up this fall, you're going to see a lot of the starting quarterbacks who are going to be in the Final Four playoffs came from this league. You're going to see defensive backs and O-linemen who are going to be the Final Four of that BCS playoff pool that came from this league. You're going to see guys getting drafted in this next upcoming draft that are coming from this league. So without a doubt, you have to say this has to be the best league, high school league, Trinity, in the country.
I mentioned that I really enjoyed, I told you personally the other day, I really enjoyed the way you called plays, and you were calling plays that I haven't seen before. How much fun did you have this year?
I had a great time. It was great to get in there and start putting some of my DNA and all the offensive coordinating stuff and actually doing stuff that I like to do as a player, which is have fun calling the plays but also running the plays. And I felt like the players would be more into it every week in practice, knowing that it's going to be a little bit different, a wrinkle here and there. But more importantly, we were going to have fun running this offense, and I think they enjoyed it.
Do you find it easier to call plays being on the field or up in the box? Because I know that you've probably done both in your career.
Yes. It's kind of give and take. I love calling the game from the box and being able to see the field. It's a little bit easier to be in the box and call plays. However, the flip side of that is it's now difficult to get in each player's ear to game plan for the next series because you're just really talking to just the coaches. So it has its give and takes. I do like being on the field to be able to see my quarterback and look him in the eyes and know, can I call this next play? And sometimes that helps me in calling plays. But I'll take either one. I'll do whatever's best for the team. I know Coach Ruse is good with me doing either one, which is great.
You have a very short time to get a quarterback in here, and you had really no time to look at a backup quarterback because you had so many, you had, 5-6 games, right? So you didn't have a lot of time. So what do you do now moving forward, without spoiling anybody's thoughts or, deflating anybody's egos? What do you do now between now and August to kind of figure out that quarterback position? And with that said, does the offense revolve around the quarterback?
The offense does revolve around the quarterback. Depending what his limits are and what he can handle will kind of determine on what we're going to do as a team, as an offensive unit. But we've been evaluating a lot of our younger kids really since August of last summer, and we've had time to look at them and see them in action. So right now, in the back of my mind, I kind of know in what direction I want to head in moving forward. But this is the Trinity League, and every school in the Trinity League gets every head coach gets probably 100, 200 emails about a quarterback who wants to come be the next great Carson Palmer. So who knows who will walk through these doors. I just know that the guys that I have here right now, I have an idea of who I want to go with. I'm confident with whoever that is, and we're going to be successful regardless of who walks through the door.
Two things, Coach, before I let you leave. Congratulations on Sean coming here, your son. And I think I'm talking to a future head coach one day.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do appreciate that.
1/3 of the game of football is that of special teams. Former NFL player and SoCal talent Tony Dye heads up the Eagles special teams. He's next. This is EFB Insider. We'll be right back.
The EFB Insider with Paul J. Higgins is being brought to you by Smart Stop Self Storage, the smarter way to store. New location in Rancho Mission Viejo. Smart Stop, proud supporters of Santa Margarita football and EFB Insider.
Coach, it's first of all, when I met you, I thought it was pretty special. But then when I started to hear about your career, and you and I were just talking about it, you've played on every level, and you're a Southern California guy.
That's absolutely true. And if you keep talking to me like that, you're gonna have to take me to dinner.
So, what you know, in all levels, where did you have the most fun playing?
By far, it was high school.
And why is that?
It's the only level where it's all about the brotherhood and winning a championship, a common goal, and it's as pure as the sport gets, which is exactly why I'm back here now at the high school level, because it's just the purest form of the sport.
Yeah. So you're coaching, and I believe that what you coach is 1/3 of the game. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And a lot of people sometimes don't realize that. You are super busy when you're on that football field. Special teams, tell me about what makes a great special teams player.
Culture. Yeah, so guys that buy into the culture of special teams, which is a reflection of the team's culture, become excellent football players. And when you have excellent football players on special teams, you end up with an excellent team. So just like you said, it's 1/3 of the game, but really it counts for more than that because it's a representation of your team as a whole.
And special teams starts off the game, right?
Starts it off, yeah, and it can start off in a big way, or it can put you in a hole right away. So your attention to detail with special teams is vital.
Now, you played safety at the highest level. What did you appreciate about that position? And I guess the one word on that too is, what did you like about that position?
Well, about safety itself, I really always enjoyed the fact that, well, it's in the name, you are the safety valve of the defense. So I took great pride in being the last line of defense for every team I played for, not just the 3rd level, but all 3 levels. Places a lot of responsibility on you at the end of the day to give your team a chance to play another down.
Yeah. When you look at a special teams athlete, does it matter size? How do you break that down? Like in the NFL, a lot of guys get their start in special teams, and they're phenomenal football players before they become a wide receiver, somebody like that. Even like Dante Pettis, right? He was a great special teams player in high school and a wide receiver in high school, and then he started off that way in football, and then of course it branched out to a wide receiver. Great athletes on special teams. Can you tell right away?
You can tell right away generally, and really that's because it's not as technically driven as the other positions. On offense and defense, you can take an athlete and mold them and really get the most out of them if they're not as technically proficient on the other sides of the ball. So it's a good opportunity for guys to get their feet wet in the game, if they're young guys especially, if they've got a ton of athleticism, but they're just not quite there from a technical standpoint on the other sides of the ball. It's a great way to get them involved in the game and really calm them down. So when they get in on offense and defense, they're firing on all cylinders and not worried about the game's not too big for them. Okay. So special teams, as everybody knows, that's how you keep your job. I mean, the special teams coordinator in the league, that's the guy that you need to be friends with, because he's the guy at the end of the day that's going to say yes or no to you, because if you can't play teams, you're not worth anything. There's only 53 on the roster, and you got to be able to bring someone to the table from that standpoint.
How do you evaluate your special teams players this year and what transpired in a very short season?
Yeah, and because it was a short season, effort was a big thing for me. Effort and attitude, again, not as technically, there's not as many technical requirements for special teams, so in and of itself, effort is important. But for the shortened down season, that's really all I want to see is who are the guys that want to be out there. Especially with what we're trying to do here in the culture that Ruse is building here. I think it's super important that we have guys on this team that really exemplify what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I know that you are recommended for this job, but you could probably coach anywhere you want on a high school level. Santa Margarita a special place to you?
Yeah, it took 10 minutes before I knew I wanted to be here.
What was that 10 minutes? Tell me.
It was 10 minutes in that room right over there with Coach Ruse. Where I called him Ruzier, and I didn't know at that time what it was, but I learned, and I knew right away, just the way the man spoke, and there was so much passion involved, and there was nothing. It was all genuine, and you can tell when somebody's fake about what they want to get out of a program. And it didn't take long for me to realize I want to be a part of this.
And it probably didn't bother you that he was a first-year head coach on this level?
Not at all, not at all. And really any level that wouldn't bother me, because at the end of the day, your success is going to be based on the people that you're working with from a staff standpoint, and I knew I connect with this guy, and if he's the head ball coach, I'm probably going to connect with the other guys that he's already hired, and that has played out to be true.
Well, I know that as excited you are about him, he's that excited about you and the coaching staff, and it was a cohesiveness that I saw with all of you, even when I walk in this football office, whether it's 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon or when we do these shows. You can tell that you guys like each other, and you mentioned that brotherhood. I can see that with the coaches. Welcome to Santa Margarita, and it's so nice to meet you and be part of what you're establishing here at this level.
Absolutely. And either we're all really good friends like you're saying, or we're all really good liars. And I like to think it's the former, and hopefully that translates into success.
What I've noticed about you, Coach, you have a dry sense of humor and you're good at it.
Very dry. Very quick, though, and it gets me a long way with ladies, but also stops me short with them.
We'll leave it at that. That's a good way to end the series.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Hey, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. That was awesome.